Fox 35. In high definition, this is Central Coast News right now.
Whether you own one or not in your home, the gun control debate is most likely there, front and center. And we have just hours before President Obama is slated to announce some major steps to curb gun violence. We have 360 coverage on one of the most highly anticipated announcements in recent history. I'm Jazz here in the Digital Operations Center with a full rundown of what's happening there in Washington in just 3 minutes.
And I'm Mark, keeping an eye on how things are shaping up locally. In the next 6 minutes, we'll take you from the Central Coast all the way to the nation's capital. Here's what we're covering tonight. Another round of gun reform underway on the Central Coast. Also, how the president is gearing up for his big announcement. Our political expert weighing in on what using an executive order would mean for President Barack Obama. And we ask you if you're on board with calls to impeach the commander-in-chief. We kick off our 360 coverage with this question. How easy is it to sell guns on the Central Coast? Tonight, Santa Cruz County is trying to figure out how to make sure businesses are running a safe shop. Our news reporter, Melissa Pendergrass, found out how the county plans to keep guns out of the wrong hands.
County Supervisor John Leopold says the county is taking a step back before allowing another gun shop to open in an unincorporated area. Leopold says when he heard a businessman who doesn't want to be named was planning to open a new gun shop in a Live Oak shopping center, he decided to take the issue to the rest of the board.
We don't have any regulations for gun stores, and that this person could have actually gotten a permit over the counter.
Today, the county board unanimously passed a temporary 45-day waiting period to allow the sheriff, the planning department, and county attorneys to sift through existing laws and the possibility of new rules covering store security, annual permits, and proximity to schools.
When you have businesses that have an impact on the community, you want to make sure that you're protecting the community and the environment.
I want to show you the different places with a federal firearms license in unincorporated areas of Santa Cruz County. Now on the map, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And some of those businesses are run out of a home. County supervisors say they want to see if those locations also need more regulation. One of those license holders who wouldn't talk on camera told me the county is just trying to push gun businesses out. He also says there's already so many rules that they have to follow at the state and federal level. Leopold says while many cities have special rules, the county is lacking.
We don't have the ability to ban gun shops, and that's not what this legislation is about. It's really just coming up with common sense rules.
Marissa Pendergrass in Santa Cruz, your Central Coast News.
So our 360 coverage continues tonight from the Digital Operations Center now, and this is where we're going to be watching for President Obama to roll out his plan to tackle gun violence tomorrow. By his side will be children who wrote letters after the Newtown school shooting. So here's what we do know about those proposals and a fact check. Some are expected to address mental health care, school safety, and violent video games. He also is set to push out a ban on assault weapons, high-capacity ammo magazines, as well as expanded background checks for gun purchases. But this all could be a tough sell on Capitol Hill. But in New York State today, lawmakers and then the governor passed the toughest gun law in the nation since the deadly shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. The law calls for a tougher ban on assault weapons and places new restrictions on ammunition.
And these gun control talks, they come on the heels of 2 more school shootings in the U.S. today. First, 2 people were killed in a shooting at Hazard Community and Technical College in Kentucky. Video here from the scene. A third person was injured and now in the hospital. Police say 2 suspects have come forward. And earlier today, 2 people were hurt in a targeted shooting at a St. Louis business school. Police say the gunman was found nearby suffering from a gunshot wound. The gunman is described as a part-time student who has attended the school for the past 4 years. Our 360 coverage, it moves forward with word from the president that he is weighing the steps that he can take to curb gun violence without lawmakers' approval. Right now, what an executive order means for the people and the future of the country. Our political expert, Dr. David Anderson, joining us here through Skype. Dr. Anderson, good to see you. Thanks for the time. Do you remember any other president using such force?
Executive orders have been used by presidents since the days of George Washington. It's simply a document with the force of law that presidents use to conduct the business of government.
And, you know, your opinion on that note, you know, what would it mean for President Barack Obama here in his second term?
Well, I mean, it's a tool which he will use very carefully, as presidents have. I mean, President Truman used one to desegregate the armed forces, so they can be very powerful. They can also be a minor. I think what Obama is thinking about right now is simply holding out the possibility to Congress that he could act on his own if they do not cooperate with him.
Yes or no? Are you a betting man? Will he make that executive order?
I don't think he'll make an executive order on something addressing the Second Amendment. He may make an executive order on something like investigating mental health dimensions or something like that. He may make some executive orders, but he'll be very careful.
Good insight, Dr. David Anderson there through Skype. Thanks for the time. Our 360 coverage, it rounds off with you. Many of you are sounding off on the gun control conversation as it really does heat up.
And you know what? This conversation started immediately and it has not stopped. Let's get right to it. Nice Dykman said this tonight. The entire nation already has banned actual assault weapons, he says, in 1986. And now they are trying to ban semi-automatic sporting rifles. There's a difference.
And here's a comment from Carl Howe saying it's called a Bill of Rights, not a bill of needs. We could have whatever guns we want.
Another comment, Eric Wasson said, no, us president has never successfully, no U.S. president has ever successfully been impeached. I highly doubt Obama will be the first. The conversation again, join in. The victims of Superstorm Sandy will get nearly $51 billion in aid. The House of Representatives approved the package just today. Now, the aid will fund long-term reconstruction of areas badly damaged by the hurricane. The measure passed overwhelmingly, with 179 Republicans, though, saying no.
Moving to the Weather Authority, it has been a frigid week here on the Central Coast.
Yeah, don't we wish this was a real fireplace tonight? This is what we needed over the past few nights because it has been downright cold. Our chief meteorologist Norm Hoffman's in the Weather Center now. Norm, staying warm. We heard you whistling a bit of a different tune, though, tonight.
Yeah, we're talking not quite as cold tonight and maybe a little bit warmer tomorrow. Let's take a look. Still high pressure in charge, clear skies over the state and as well over the Central Coast, but low temperatures tonight. 32 Gilroy, 36 Santa Cruz, 35 Hollister, 36 Salinas, 38 over in Monterey, 35 in Soledad, 34 King City, still freezing down at Bradley. So expect some chilly temperatures, but it will be a little bit warmer as we head out the next few days. More to come later. Mark?
Norm, thanks for that. More local news, and check out this video that we gathered earlier today. There's an effort from the skies to help save our $4 billion ag industry from those frosty conditions. This morning, we took an exclusive helicopter ride to see how they're helping out. Some local farmers are forking over $100,000 a night to warm up their fields. We went along with pilots from specialized helicopters to get some amazing views. As for the science behind it, we learned that the choppers create a breeze to the fields and will move the warmer air from the air above into the trees and the roots themselves. Now, keep in mind that produce that goes bad because of the frost, it could mean higher prices at the grocery store.
Some new information on the house fire we first told you about is breaking news tonight at 6. This is in Salinas. The fire scorched 40% of this home on Brendan Way, and it caused $100,000 in damage. Thankfully, nobody was home at the time. The cause, though, is still under investigation.
And this just into Central Coast News. Salinas police have now closed down Natividad Road this evening after a driver lost control, crashed into a PG&E pole, and then ran off from the scene. I spoke to officers before the newscast and was told that some live wires had fallen across the road. It's happening between Alvin and Arcadia, and just learning that the road, in fact, will be closed for the evening. This is on Natividad. No estimate as far as the cause of that driver losing control.
New tonight is police departments across the Central Coast face tight budgets and just not enough police officers. Some good news for one city bucking that trend. Hollister announced the first in a set of new hires. The Hollister Police Department said William Hutchinson, who graduated from San Benito High School, was sworn in yesterday. Hutchinson was laid off from the San Benito County Sheriff's Office in 2012, just last year, all thanks to budget cuts. And on that note, we want to turn to Operation Jobs. Police officers. Well, he got the job, and thanks to Measure E, which was passed in November and ensures funding for public safety officers, there are 4 more open positions as a result of that. Applications can be found on Hollister City's website or at the police department.
More news just into Central Coast News. The man police say fired several shots into the air outside Salinas' Northridge Mall on Sunday has now been arrested after an undercover operation. He is 32-year-old Carlos Quisada of Hollister. In fact, his arrest was a joint operation between Salinas police and a task force in San Benito County. Quesada was arrested outside a home on Rancho Drive in Hollister and has since been booked into the Monterey County Jail on numerous felony charges. The getaway driver involved in Sunday's shooting has been identified as 25-year-old Michael Rivas. He is still on the run. Well, now that developing story consuming Lance Armstrong for years now, and word that the fallen star admitted to doping during yesterday's interview with Oprah. The high-profile interview comes after Armstrong was stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles following an overwhelming amount of evidence found by the U.S. doping agency. And until yesterday's interview, Armstrong had strongly denied all allegations that he did the drugs.
I think he was just ready. I think the velocity of everything that's come at him in the past several months, and particularly in the past several weeks, he was just ready.
Well, legal experts say that Armstrong's admission has opened him up to lawsuits and possible criminal charges. Your Central Coast sports. The Santa Cruz Warriors were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota this evening playing the Sky Force.
Could they do it? Well, a strong first half for the Warriors, but they just couldn't hold on. Look at some of the highlights, though. Darrington Hobson passes it to Daniel Walele, who's fouled out as he makes the bucket. Then it's Hobson again. He spots up, drains a 3. Check out Chris Johnson with the baseline jumper as well. Like we said, they couldn't hold on. Final score tonight, 99-83. Next home game Friday.
You know, we've said it before, but for a first-year team formed just a couple months ago, doing pretty well. Still ahead here, who the U.S. is blaming for a string of cyber attacks against some major banks.
Also, why a student was suspended for a Facebook post.
Central Coast News has created TV news that can now travel with you by launching one of the nation's first 24/7 mobile local news channels. Central Coast News 24/7 allows you to see local news anytime from your smartphone or tablet. Start watching right now by downloading the free SyncBack app for your iPhone or Droid. Want more information? Visit KIONrightnow.com. More news coming your way in just 2 minutes.